Inside ADX Florence, America's invisible prison system, hidden beneath the Rocky Mountains lies a system most Americans will never see, a world built on silence, secrecy, and survival. ADX Florence isn't just a prison. It's the command center of a network that decides who disappears from society and who never comes back. From underground tunnels to secret inmate programs run by the FBI, this is the side of ADX the government never wants you to understand. The hidden network. When most people think of ADX Florence, they picture concrete, steel, and isolation. But beyond its walls lies something even more invisible, an entire federal ecosystem that keeps the Supermax alive. ADX isn't just one prison. It's the nerve center of America's high-security machine. What happens here ripples through every major prison in the country. And at the heart of it all is control. The Shadow Bureau. Few know that within the Bureau of Prisons exists a special division informally known as the Management Unit. This small, highly vetted team operates in near total secrecy, coordinating with the FBI, DEA, and NSA to track communications, monitor radicalization, and manage high-value inmates. They decide who gets transferred into ADX. They decide who never leaves, and sometimes they decide who talks. A former BOP intelligence officer described it like this: "It's not just about locking them up, it's about locking up what they know." Inside ADX, every word, every letter, and every coded message is surveillance gold. Terrorists, cartel leaders, and mob bosses still try to run operations through invisible channels, and the government listens. Operation H Unit, one of the most secretive wings of ADX, is H Unit, also known internally as the Communication Management Unit. To outsiders, it's just another isolation block. But inside, the walls are wired with sensors, microphones, and pressure-triggered audio detectors that can pick up even whispered words. Inmates here are the ones deemed too connected, those who can still command followers beyond the fence. They include radical clerics, convicted terrorists, and gang leaders whose influence stretches across continents. Each letter they write passes through 3 separate filters, one by guards, one by FBI linguists, and another by an algorithm designed to detect hidden codes. Some inmates are never told why they were transferred to H Unit. Others know exactly why, because they were once informants themselves. The Secret Tunnel. Rumors about underground tunnels at ADX Florence have circulated for decades. Stories of hidden corridors connecting the control rooms, escape-proof passageways, and even a rumored emergency exit for staff during lockdowns. Officially, the Bureau of Prisons denies any such structure. But satellite scans from 2017, analyzed by independent researchers, revealed subterranean patterns beneath the facility, perfectly aligned with the prison's main wings. Architectural plans from the 1990s mention utility conduits beneath Range 13 and H Unit. But the scale of these layouts suggests something far more complex than simple electrical tunnels. A former contractor who worked on the original site told reporters anonymously, "We were told never to talk about what went below the second foundation layer. That's where the federal guys came in." To this day, access to those levels is restricted to federal intelligence personnel, not correctional officers. The double agents of Florence. Behind the heavy doors, a different kind of war unfolds. One fought through deals, deception, and desperation. The FBI runs a covert cooperative inmate program, using certain high-risk prisoners as informants against others. Some of these informants live among their targets in general population wings before being quietly moved back to ADX for security reasons. Letters uncovered during legal discovery in 2014 revealed coded exchanges between known mob figures and unknown recipients that later turned out to be undercover agents inside the Bureau. ADX Florence, it turns out, isn't just a cage. It's a chessboard, and every inmate is a piece the government might decide to play. Psychological warfare reimagined, the clean version of hell didn't stop evolving in the 1990s. Since 2010, ADX has quietly introduced new behavior programs, officially designed for inmate stabilization, but internally studied for neurocognitive control. Using light patterns, controlled sound frequencies, and meal timing adjustments, these programs test how environmental manipulation affects aggression and compliance. A former inmate lawyer reported that one of his clients described the lights flickering in a rhythmic pattern during the night, followed by strange tone shifts in the vents. He claimed it made him feel dizzy, like someone was inside his head. The Bureau denies these allegations, but internal BOP documents leaked in 2018 mention behavioral compliance metrics tied to environmental conditioning. If true, it means ADX Florence has quietly become not just a prison, but a living laboratory of control. The Forgotten Files. During a 2020 declassification request under the Freedom of Information Act, several journalists uncovered redacted incident reports mentioning CIC protocol breach, H-Unit. The contents were almost entirely blacked out, except for one chilling sentence. Containment successful. Subject unaware. No official statement was ever made, but many believe these documents referred to intercepted communications from within ADX, linked to an overseas terror cell. It's evident that even now, ADX remains an active part of national security operations. More than just a prison, it's an intelligence hub hiding in plain sight. The myth of total silence. For years, the government has called ADX Florence the model of perfect control. But the truth is more complex. Despite all the walls, all the cameras, all the sensors, communication still happens. It happens through letters written in code, reflections bounced off mirrors, and messages tapped in pipes that only another inmate can hear. Inside ADX Florence, silence isn't absence, it's language. And every man inside that concrete maze is fluent. The breaking point. Inside the mind of a Supermax inmate. The science of isolation. Inside ADX Florence, punishment goes beyond the physical. Every wall, door, and window is designed to control the brain. Isolation reshapes the mind. After weeks, sleep cycles collapse. After months, perception bends. After years, reality itself begins to fade. Psychologists call it solitary psychosis. It's what happens when a human being loses all sensory input, when the only thing left to talk to is the echo of your own thoughts. Former ADX psychiatrist Dr. Craig Haney described it best. Men in long-term solitary don't just lose their freedom, they lose their reflection. Inmates start to forget faces, the sound of conversation, and even the shape of their own voices. Inside a 7x12 concrete box, the silence becomes a mirror, one that shows you everything you've ever done and everyone you'll never see again. Thomas Silverstein, the man who inspired the box. If there's one man who defines the spirit of ADX, it's Thomas Silverstein. In 1983, he murdered a correctional officer at USP Marion, the incident that led the Bureau of Prisons to rethink security entirely. When ADX opened, Silverstein became its symbol and its first ghost. His cell was built for pure isolation, no windows, no contact, no sound. He lived in silence for 36 years, longer than any other inmate in U.S. history. In one of his rare letters, he wrote, "I can't tell where the walls end and my thoughts begin." When he died in 2019, the Bureau listed the cause as heart failure. But to those who knew his story, his death began decades earlier, when the system decided that silence was safer than forgiveness. The prison that thinks ADX isn't static, it adapts. Hidden sensors monitor temperature, sound, and even vibration in real time. When inmates slam their fists against walls or shout, the system remembers. Correctional staff review behavioral data, anger spikes, meal refusals, rest periods, all tracked by digital logs. A former systems analyst described the data as behavioral heat maps. The technology can predict when an inmate is about to act out, sometimes hours before it happens. ADX has become more than a prison. It's a feedback loop, a self-learning system that studies the men it confines. Psychological meltdown. In 2012, psychiatrist Dr. Stuart Gracian testified in court that extended isolation can cause irreversible mental damage. He cited cases where inmates began screaming at the air, tearing at their skin, or hearing phantom voices. At ADX Florence, these breakdowns happen quietly. Guards report hearing faint cries echoing through ventilation shafts at night, voices asking, "Is anyone there?" One officer said, "Sometimes I answer back, not because I'm supposed to, but because I can't stand the sound of someone disappearing." The guards who break, even those outside the cells, aren't immune. Many ADX correctional officers describe recurring nightmares and anxiety long after leaving their posts. Daniel Hurst, a former ADX guard, said, "It's not just the inmates who go numb, it's everyone. You walk those halls long enough, you stop feeling human." Several staff members have resigned abruptly over the years, unable to cope with the monotony and the psychological burden of managing men who no longer resemble men. In 2015, an internal memo from a warden read, "The facility is effective but unsustainable. It breaks everyone who touches it." The lawsuit that shook the walls. That same year, a civil case, Bacot v. Federal Bureau of Prisons, accused ADX of violating the Eighth Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. The evidence was damning. Inmates mutilating themselves. Men kept in solitary despite diagnosed schizophrenia. Logs showing ignored medical pleas. The Bureau of Prisons settled quietly, promising reforms. But lawyers say little changed. ADX still operates under near-total isolation, 23 hours a day, 7 days a week. One lawyer put it simply, "The building is smarter than its keepers. The system runs itself." The cost of silence. Each inmate at ADX costs taxpayers more than $200,000 per year, double that of a regular maximum security facility. And yet, it produces nothing. No rehabilitation, no reform. Only endurance. One anonymous warden admitted, "It's not about fixing anyone, it's about forgetting them." Even so, the prison is a paradox. The safest in the world, yet the most haunted. The quietest, yet the loudest in legacy. The ghosts of Florence. At night, from the outside, the prison looks lifeless. Rows of white light trace the rooftops, cutting through the black Colorado sky. No movement, no sound, just geometry and shadows. But behind those walls, men whisper to themselves, count the days, or carve invisible lines on concrete floors. They are living reminders that control always comes with a price. The price of perfect control. From Alcatraz to Florence, the promise was always the same: build a place no one could escape. But no one asked what would happen if no one could survive. ADX Florence is the end of that promise, the place where America's toughest prison became its quietest tomb. Because in Florence, Colorado, no one escapes the silence.